Marian Minsitry presents Women of the Old Testament. Welcome as we journey through the stories of some remarkable women of the Old Testament whose strength, wisdom, and courage shaped the course of history and carried forward God's promises. Each woman's story is a testament to perseverance, divine purpose, and the enduring power of faith. Join us as we explore their lives, the challenges they faced, and the legacy they left behind. Sarah. Sarah was the wife of Abraham. According to God's covenant with them, she was to bear a son and become the mother of nations. But as Sarah progressed in age and her barrenness continued, she devised her own way of realizing God's promise. She gave her Egyptian maidservant Hagar to Abraham to bear a child for them, and Hagar conceived a son, Ishmael. On becoming pregnant, Hagar began to look at Sarai with contempt, and Sarai began to treat Hagar harshly, so much so that Hagar ran away into the wilderness. God's angel met her in the desert and encouraged her to return, and she did. 13 years after, Hagar had Ishmael. God reaffirmed his promise and blessed Sarah at the age of 90 with her own son, Isaac. Rebekah. When Isaac grew to be a man, Abraham sent his servant to his own relatives to find a wife for Isaac. The servant came to a well and specifically prayed that whichever young woman provided water for him and his camels would be God's choice to be Isaac's wife. As the servant was praying, along came Rebekah, who did not only give the servant a drink, but also watered his camels. Isaac and Rebekah were married for years before Rebekah became the mother of twins, Jacob and Esau. The twins lived in conflict with each other throughout their lives. Jacob, after tricking his father and stealing his brother's birthright, had to flee to Rebekah's son, Laban. Rachel. Jacob met Rachel when he arrived at her father's house. He fell for her beauty instantly and agreed to work 7 years for Laban in return for her hand in marriage. On the wedding night, however, Laban deceived him by switching Rachel with her elder sister, Leah. Laban promised giving Rachel also in marriage to Jacob if he worked for 7 more years for Laban. Jacob was in love with Rachel, so he agreed. When God saw that Leah was unloved, he blessed her richly in the form of motherhood. Jesus Christ is a descendant of Leah. Rachel struggled for many years to conceive before God had compassion on her, and she gave birth to 2 sons, Joseph and then Benjamin. Deborah. Deborah was a rare female leader in ancient Israel. She served as both a judge and a prophetess, making her unique and most influential. Israelites came to her for guidance, and she held court under a tree called Deborah's palm tree. Her wisdom and courage were widely known and respected. She boldly went with Barak to battle against Sisera, the powerful and cruel army commander of Canaan's king. Naomi. Naomi lived during the time of the Judges. Famine forced her family to move from Bethlehem to Moab. After her husband and 2 sons died there, Naomi planned to return to her native Bethlehem and urged her Moabite daughters-in-law to return to their families. But Ruth refused to leave Naomi, declaring, "Where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die. There will I be buried." Ruth accompanied Naomi to Bethlehem and later married Boaz, a distant relative of her late father-in-law. Hannah. Hannah was the mother of the prophet Samuel. Childless as one of the two wives of Elkanah, she prayed for a son, promising to dedicate him to God. Hannah is the only Old Testament woman to make a vow to the Lord. Her prayer to Almighty God was a promise that if He were to give her a son, she would offer the child for Jehovah's service as a Nazirite, saying, "He will be yours his whole life, and as a Nazirite, he will not drink wine or strong drink, and no one will ever cut his hair." Abigail. Abigail was the wife of a wealthy but foolish man named Nabal, whose rash behavior caused David to come with 400 men to destroy his household. When Abigail found out, she immediately took action with intelligence and humility. She went to David and persuaded him to not shed any blood, and prophesied that David would become king. Her efforts saved the household from destruction. Soon after, Nabal died of illness, and David asked Abigail to marry him. Esther. Esther was a young Jewish woman who lived in the Persian diaspora. She found favor with the king and became queen. When the court official Haman, with a personal vendetta, persuaded the king to authorize a massacre against all the Jews of the empire, Esther risked her life to reveal Haman's evil plot to the king and save the Jews from destruction. These ordinary women demonstrated unwavering faith, resilience, and leadership in the most challenging times. Their stories remind us that God's plans often unfold in ways we do not anticipate, but through trust and devotion, even the most difficult trials can be turned into triumph. May their legacies inspire us to face our own challenges with courage, hope, and faith. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the lives of some of the most important women of the Old Testament.